Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our 12th class of this advanced English course. Can you hear me? Am I coming through okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Joangel. Jennifer, Angelina. Today, guys, tonight.
Hello, teacher.
Hi. Is our last Tuesday's class. Last Tuesday's class. This is our final week of the course, of the whole course. So, during this week, we're going to discuss the last topic, which is about the time, past, present, and future. And we're also going to discuss one of the 4 conditionals we have in English. We're going to discuss the first conditional, which is a pretty easy way to introduce this topic, so you can get acquainted with this topic, and it is easier to develop all the other conditionals later on by yourself or with the help of another teacher or in another course. Okay, so let's start right away. Let's start right away with our last topic of this advanced English course. Okay, so this unit, it's unit number 9. Yeah, we don't have enough time to see the whole second book because the advanced module is only 200 hours. We need at least 400 hours more to finish this. Okay, so only time will tell is the title of this unit. Discuss life in different times and discuss consequences. Right? We have the past here, we have the present, and we have the future, right? The past, the present, and the future. So, in the case of the past, we had printed books, blackboard, time clocks, assembly line, steam trains, ocean liners. In the present, we have ebooks, digital content, frequent career changes, multiple workplaces, non-polluting vehicles, shared vehicles. Like, I think it's pool, Uber pool. And future, we have virtual classroom, like this one. This is a virtual classroom. Learning pills, intelligent robots, 2-hour work day, driverless cars, and teleportation. Well, that's a bit of a stretch, right? Because we don't have teleportation yet. We wish we had something like that, right? To get faster to places. But we don't have that yet. Maybe in the future. But we have learning pills, right? Which are short, bite-sized instructional modules. Okay. Now that we have all of this information, we need to find ways of learning faster because we don't have the time to learn everything at the rate that we are receiving the information. Because the rate of the information we receive is too high. It's too much. It's overwhelming. So we need to find ways to keep it up, to keep up, right? And learning pills are ways that we can use to keep up, to keep learning and being updated without losing ourselves in the process or dying in the process. Because if you get too stressed about this, you will certainly get sick and eventually sorely die. Okay, so let's see our first grammar focus. Navigating time and reality, a masterclass in English tenses and conditionals. So the first thing is the two dimensions of English. Fluency isn't just knowing when something happened, it's knowing if it actually happened at all. Okay, let's see. Okay, so when we're looking to the past, looking backward, which is to look into the past, we normally use this structure, right? Remember, used to. When we use used to, it's because we're looking into the past. We also have here another structure, there was or there were. For example, let me see. Before Megacenter was built, there was nothing. As long as I remember, there was nothing over there in that place. Okay? What else? I don't remember. Well, Sambil, I remember that when I was younger, I remember this huge hole that was right there near the avenue where Sambil is today. So maybe in the 2010s or 20, I don't know, maybe 2005, 2006, there was nothing over there. I don't remember. I don't recall what exactly was in that place. But as far as I know, and as far as I can remember, there was nothing there. Now we have some bill in that place. So we use there was to talk about something that happened or to look into the past. What else? I don't recall anything else. But many things have changed. Many things have changed. Okay, so we have used to plus base verb and there was and there were. Remember that we use there was for singular objects and we use there were for plural objects. So the concept is that describe situations or habits that are no longer true. If I say I used to, it's because I no longer do that. And if I say there was or there were, it's because those things that exist no longer or no longer exist. Okay? Then we have the present. The present is the anchor between the past and the future. Because the present is a present reality, we use other tenses like present continuous, remember, present progressive, which are tenses that we use for things that are happening now. For example, they are building apartments, that is in the present, it's something that is happening now. We also have the simple present that we can use for things that are routines or general facts to describe general facts of our present reality. For example, people order food from phones. That's our present reality. Kids meet online. That's also our present reality. So we can use either present continuous or the simple present tense to talk about a present reality. And then we have the future, which are the things that haven't happened yet. Which are the things that haven't happened yet. For example, we are going to have virtual friends. That's planned or likely. Prediction using will, there will be apartments, or something that is possible, might or may. Restaurants might not exist. So in this case, we are using the future to talk about things that are likely, or to talk about a prediction, or only to talk about a possibility, like in the case of might and may. So in this exact order is the likelihood that something happens. For example, going to is the one that we use when we have evidence about something. So the probability of that prediction happening is higher than when we use might or may, that we use it when we're not sure about what is going to happen and it's only a possibility. Okay? That's it. That's it. So we have the past, used to, right? The present, and we have the future. What you have to, what you need to keep in mind is that we use where and used to for the past, present continuous and present simple in the present, and for the future we can use either going to, will, or might. The difference is the likelihood of the prediction happening. The likelihood of the prediction happening being going to the strongest one, and might the less likely one. Okay. With that being said, as easy as that, here we have some exercises where we have to play a little bit with time between past, present, and future. Here we have a couple of sentences that says, for example, in the early 1990s, and you have to find what was happening in the early 1990s. Well, you have to look here in column B, which of these options would be the correct one to be matched with number one. Okay, so you have to do a little digging or to be aware of the reality of the past century. Number two, here we have this interesting paragraph where we have to use the verbs in the box in different tenses. So here, sometimes you have to use the past tense of the verbs, sometimes the present tense of the verb, and sometimes the future structure to complete a sentence. So here, in this paragraph, you have to use the past, present, or future tense. You have to read carefully each of these lines to identify which one is in the past, which one is present, and which one is future. You will find a couple of words that will help you with that. For example, if you look at here, you can see few years ago, this is a reference to the past, right? In the past is a reference to the past. But these days, today, and nowadays are all reference to the present, right? And in the case of the future, we have soon, in the future, in a few years. All of these sentences are about the future. And you know that because of the word soon, in the future, in a few years. So if you take these cues into consideration, if you bear these cues in mind, you will easily do this exercise because in every sentence, there is at least one cue. Okay. Is this clear? The thing about the text and the use of the tenses? Is it clear? Do you have a question? Joangel, is everything clear?
For me now, yes.
Okay. Okay. So let's continue. Same thing here. We have to choose the correct responses. Here we have 4 questions. We have to choose the correct one. So again, you need to use your intuition, your common sense, or know a little bit about the past, right? The things that we learned in school. Okay, so now let's continue with our second topic and the last one, conditionals. Remember that I told you that we have many conditionals in English. Zero conditional, first conditional, second conditional, third conditional, and the third conditional, if I remember correctly, we divided that into 2, right? Type A and type B. I don't remember if it is type A or type B or something else, but we divide the third conditional into 2 because those topics take some time to develop, and we don't have that time. And I don't want to overwhelm you with all that information. What we're going to do is we're going to focus on one, only on one conditional. In this case, first conditional. Okay, the first one, which is really easy to understand. So let's see the first conditional. Okay, so the first conditional, also called conditional sentences with if clauses, connects a real or possible condition to its expected outcome. So the real or possible situation is rooted in the present, and the possible future result is the logical consequence. Let's see that. For example, here we have the structural formula. If plus subject plus present simple. If it rains, this is the present reality, right? If it rains, comma, subject will make my base verb, I will stay home. This is a first conditional. As you can see, we have the first clause, if it rains. Present simple. So as you can see, we use the present simple in the if clause in the first conditional. If it rains, what will be the possible result? I will stay home. Si llueve, me quedo en casa. That's a possibility, right? You're not sure. So you're saying that if it rains, which is possible, I will stay home. That will be my decision. So you're talking about a future action based on a present reality. Another example, if you study, comma, you will pass. So the present reality is studying, and the result of studying is that you will pass the test. Si tú estudias, pasarás el examen. Como pueden darse cuenta, chicos, tenemos, ¿verdad?, la primera cláusula que está basada en la realidad posible del presente y la segunda cláusula que está basada en el posible resultado de si esto se cumple. Entonces las condicionales se tratan de eso, de cosas que son posibles. En el caso de la primera condicional se caracteriza porque la cláusula del if siempre tiene presente simple, mientras que la cláusula del resultado puede utilizar will, may or might, seguido de la forma base del verbo, porque will, may y might son verbos modales y siempre utilizarán la forma base del verbo. In a moment, I will explain the meaning of all of this, when to use will, when to use may, and when to use might. For now, it is enough to say, or it is sufficient to say, that all of them are used to express the future possible result. ¿Se entendió esa parte ahí?
Yes, teacher.
Yes, teacher.
Okay, muy bien.
Yes, teacher.
Okay,
Yes,
so let's continue. Here we have the condition, right? The condition. Uses present simple, always uses present simple, always. The function is to tell us the possible situation. Examples: if you study, if it rains, if she comes, if they call. The result uses will, may, or might. Again, tell us the consequence. You will pass, we will stay home, I may go, she might be late. Okay? Grounding the condition in the present. This confuses many English learners. English treats the if clause as the condition, not the future. The future is already shown in the second part. Think like this: if this happens, grounded in reality, then this will happen, launched into the future. For example, if you eat healthy, you will feel better, not if you will eat healthy. Lo que está explicando aquí, ¿verdad? Es que muchas personas que están aprendiendo el inglés se confunden con esto porque el inglés inicia con el presente simple para hablar de una realidad futura. Porque el inglés empieza hablando de la realidad presente y luego entonces habla del resultado futuro. Como por ejemplo, si tú comes saludable, te sentirás mejor. ¿Sí? En vez de decir si tú comieras, sino si tú comes saludable, te sentirás mejor. Grounded in reality. Empezamos con el presente simple, la realidad. El resultado con will, or might, or may. The unbreakable rule of the first conditional. The if clause never uses will. If you will study, you will pass. If you study, you will pass. This is wrong, okay? This is wrong. Because the if clause siempre va a ser en presente simple. Voy aquí atrás otra vez. Esto que vemos aquí, lo voy a explicar en español para que lo capten bien, es la cláusula if. Fíjense que tiene if. If significa sí. Es el sí de posibilidad. Si tú estudias, si llueve, si me pagas, el sí, ¿verdad? Diferente de yes, que es una afirmación. Entonces, esta cláusula que siempre lleva el if, siempre va en presente simple en la primera condicional y nunca cambia. Nunca vamos a ver el if con will, porque el will o el may o el might lo vamos a utilizar siempre en el resultado de la condicional. Es decir, va a expresar el resultado de la condición. Y aquí siempre vamos a tener un verbo, will, may or might, pero nunca vamos a tener el if con el will, ni el if con el may, ni el if con el might. Tenemos que entender que esto es una cláusula que siempre es así y esto es otra cláusula que siempre es así. ¿Ok? Eso es lo que estamos viendo aquí. Okay, now when to use will, may, or might. When you have a high certainty, listen carefully, when you have a high certainty that the outcome is going to be as you think it will be, we use will. The speaker thinks the result is very likely expected. For example, if you exercise every day, you will lose weight. I am using will here because I am pretty certain that this is going to be the result. In the case of may, it's different than will. You are not that certain. It only shows possibility. Maybe yes, maybe no. If you exercise every day, you may lose weight. You're using a similar structure, but the meaning is different. Here, you are telling me that you are almost 100% sure. But using may, you're not so sure anymore. So it's possible only. But then we have might, the lower certainty, the less likely to happen, possible, but sounds less certain than may. You see, sounds. If you exercise every day, you might lose weight. So we have will, may, and might. When you are almost 100% sure that something is going to happen, you say will. When you're not sure, you say may. But when you are less sure, you say might, which is less than 50% that is going to happen. Okay, so will, almost 100%, may, middle point, might, lower certainty. Okay, you're not so sure about that. So you use might. So you can have the same sentence if if you study, you will pass the test. If you study, you may pass the test. If you study, you might pass the test. All of them have different meaning. The first one, you're sure. The second one, you are in a middle point. You're not so sure. Maybe yes, maybe no. The last one, you're not, you are the least certain that that is the outcome. So here is probable that you don't pass the test, but there is a small chance, there is a small window that you might pass the test. You might pass the test. Is that clear?
Yes, teacher.
Yes,
Okay.
teacher.
Yes, teacher.
Yes, teacher.
Okay, so here we have the domino effect in action. If you get a high paying job, you'll have more cash. If you have more cash, you'll be able to buy anything. If you can buy anything, you won't save money. If you don't save money, you may have to get a weekend job. If you have to get a weekend job, you might not have free time. Each sentence consequence becomes the condition for the next reality. Okay? So, there is a structural flexibility and the sliding comma. Okay, so this is a grammar thing that you have to remember. So, when I have the if clause at the beginning, after the if clause, I need to add a comma and then the result, right? But if I change the structure and I put the result first and then the if clause, I don't need a comma anymore. The idea is the same, but the rule, the grammar rule changes. So if I start with the if clause, if it rains, comma, we'll stay home. But if I start with the result, we'll stay home, I don't need comma anymore if it rains. ¿Ok? Entonces, eso es un detalle gramatical. Cuando iniciamos con la cláusula if, siempre vamos a tener una coma después de que termine esa cláusula, dividiendo el resultado. Si llueve, me quedo en casa. Pero el inglés me permite cambiarlo de posición. Nos quedaremos en casa si llueve. Si yo inicio con el resultado, fíjense que yo no cambié, no agregué el if al resultado. No. Yo cambio cláusulas completas. Yo coloqué la cláusula del resultado al principio y la condicional al final. Aquí ya no necesito la coma. Nos quedamos en casa si llueve. Esto es importante tomarlo en cuenta. Esto no se nota al hablarlo. Solamente lo vamos a identificar al momento de escribirlo. Okay. Common pitfalls and how to fix them. If you will study, you'll pass. This is wrong because this is the if clause and you're using will. The correct form is if you study without will, you'll pass. Number 2, if it will rain, again, this is wrong because we have if here and we can't have if and will in the same clause. The correct form is if it rains, we'll stay home. And the last one is if she studies English. this is wrong because here we're missing will. The correct form is if she studies, she will pass. She will pass. Okay. Okay, so here we have other uses of the first conditional. If it rains while staying home is a prediction. If you call me, I'll help you is a promise. If you feel sick, you should see a doctor is an advice. If you touch the fire, you'll burn yourself is a warning. But at the end, we have the same structure. If, present simple, will. If, present simple, will. If, present simple, should, which is another modal verb. If, present simple, will. Okay? The way you use it may change, but the idea is the same. The if clause is always in present simple, and the result uses always will, might, made, and in some cases, should. So the first conditional cheat sheet is if clause, always in present simple, main clause, the result, will, may, might, and base verb. This is the pattern. If plus present simple, the result with will, may, might plus base verb. This pattern expresses a real or possible condition and its future consequence. The if clause describes the condition, while the main clause describes what is expected or might happen if that condition becomes true. Easy, right? Is that clear? That is one of my favorite topics.
Yes, teacher. It's clear.
Yes, teacher.
It's clear,
It's clear.
Saoni? Did you like it, Saoni?
What, teacher?
Did you
What,
like
teacher?
it? The topic. Did you like it?
Okay.
Okay.
¿Te gustó, Saoni, el tema?
Yes, teacher.
Yes,
Yo
teacher.
te hablé de este tema
Yo te hablé de este tema desde el principio y te dijo que lo iba a dejar para el último.
Con el will.
Con el will.
Oh, okay, okay. Bueno, there you have it. Okay, guys, so here you have the exercises. Here you have the if clauses, right, in column A, and you need to match these if clauses with the possible result. Easy. Here you have these word power collocations. You know this exercise. Here you have words that you have to match with certain verbs that normally are paired together. Okay, that we normally pair together. For example, earn a degree or earn money, right? And so on. Here we have choose the correct responses. You have two possible options here, and you have a question with an if clause. What if I get in shape this summer? One of these is the correct answer. And the last one is this one. Rewrite these sentences. Find another way to say each sentence using the words given. Here we have these sentences, and we need to find another way of saying that same sentence using used to, diet, few, be able to, and will. And that's it. Those are the exercises. I told you it's pretty short. Those are the exercises that we're going to review next Thursday, which is our last day of class. Our last day of class, it's next Thursday. And we are going to review these exercises, and I'm going to give you some tips before we finish this course that will help you keep all the information you have learned so far. Because if you stop studying after this course is over, You can mark my words. You will forget everything you have learned. Everything. Okay? So you can't stop studying. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips that I think are useful to preserve that knowledge the best way possible so all this time never goes to waste. Okay? So, do you have any questions? Is everything clear?
Yes, teacher.
Yes, teacher.
Okay, so
Yes, teacher.
if everything is clear, I will send the pictures of the practices of all the exercises in a moment, and we will see each other again next Thursday in our last class. Goodbye, good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye bye.